This video is sponsored by Surfshark, the best VPN on the market. Surfshark is an app or browser extension that allows you to change your location to access websites in other countries and keep you safe from hackers. For example, we here in Ireland can access other countries' Netflix libraries, streaming services such as DAZN in Spain for those all-important Premier League games. Surfshark keeps you safe and private by protecting everything you do online. When your device connects to the internet, all that information is, in a way, blurred out. Surfshark is particularly useful for keeping you safe if you use public Wi-Fi, such as a college or a cafe. Surfshark allows you to use one subscription on unlimited devices, meaning that you can even share an account with friends and family. On top of this, Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't like it, you can even get your money back. Our sign-up offer gives you Surfshark VPN for just over €2 per month and up to 4 months free. Why not scan the QR code on screen or use the link in the description to take advantage of this offer. What is up, my friends? We are back and I missed you over the last few days. It is great to be back here with you, of course, with another late night agenda. We're going to be discussing Ibrahima Konate's future, as there has been, well, mixed reports to say the least today. Some say that he's going to go to Madrid and the final details of the contract are being formalised. Others say that Liverpool have put a contract offer down and they're waiting for an answer. So let's try to figure out tonight exactly what's going on. We'll talk about Mark Guehi and whether Liverpool will be making a move for him in January or waiting till the end of the season. Again, we've got conflicting reports on that today. We're going to give you some thoughts from Stefan Borson around how much the Isak deal may cost Liverpool over the course of the 6 years. We'll talk about Alexander Isak, of course, and when we may see him, and lots of other bits and pieces, including the officials that have been announced for the game against Burnley on Sunday. So, ladies and gents, I hope you all had a lovely weekend. I certainly missed you, as I mentioned. Was at the boxing on Friday night up in Dublin. Was brilliant to see Mick Conlon get the win. Went out for dinner with the family on Saturday. So, yeah, I'm good to go, but I don't like time off. So it's great to be back with you all, even though we are still in the throngs of a international break. We're back on Sunday, so we're starting to count down towards it now. And I don't know about you guys, but during these international breaks, for me, the first thing I want is Liverpool players back without any injuries or anything. So fingers crossed that that works out well for us. So yeah, nice to see you all in tonight. And as I said, I have a lot to get through over the next 90 minutes or so. So let's get stuck into it. So let's start off, I guess, with some of the reports today around the situation with Chiesa, if that's all right, folks. I'd like to kick off with this one because Fabrizio Romano had said that Besiktas, one, were considering a move for Federico Chiesa, but that very quickly became, well, they made that move and Liverpool closed the door in their faces. He went on to say Besiktas tried to sign Federico Chiesa in recent days because, of course, the Turkish window is still open, as is the Saudi Pro League window, but as much as they put an offer on the table, Liverpool slammed the door, according to Fabrizio Romano. And look, it would have been madness for us to sell Chiesa when we know we can't bring in another body to fill the void. We know Mo is going to be away for the AFCON, so that's going to be some games we miss in January for him. So I'm glad that this offer was rebuffed because it would have been frustrating, to say the least, if we had have lost Chiesa. Max, thank you, mate, for a super chat back. Lovely to see you in, bro, and thank you so much for this one. You said, evening, Craig. Hope you and the family are well. Great to have you back. Hope you've had a nice, relaxing break away with your family. It was good. Yeah, it was lovely. Thank you, Max. Can't complain at all. I needed it. I feel all the better for it. But, you know, on the third day yesterday, I was starting to get a little bit antsy and wanting to get back into, well, chatting with you guys and all. Right, how did Szoboszlai play against Ireland? Well, it was 2-2 in the end, so I'll take that from an Irish perspective. We went 2-0 down. Hungary had a man sent off, and Ireland, Liverpool on the brain, forced a draw out of it, so that'll do for me. Tonight, though, I wanted to talk about Leone, because I'm a little bit annoyed by this situation, ladies and gents. So, Giovanni Leone called up to the Italian national team squad, but hasn't been in either of the two matchday squads. So, would his time not have been better served staying at Anfield and training at the AXA training centre with the boys rather than going over there to train with the Italian national team, but certainly not to be getting any minutes or even into the matchday squad? It feels weird. It feels like a wasted chance for him to, you know, get to grips with his bearings in a new country, in a new city. And I know obviously Gattuso wanted to keep him in and around the squad, but if you're not going to put him in the matchday squad, what's the point? Surely his time would have been better served staying on Merseyside and, getting used to his surroundings. Like I said, maybe a few more sessions at the AXA, preparing for, the Burnley game. That's just my thoughts on it anyway. Obviously, the Italian national team manager was perfectly within his rights to call Giovanni Leone up to the squad, but not much use, is it, if he's not going to be in the matchday squads? Just moved into uni, said Gumi. This live is bringing back some normality. Well, I hope the move went well for you, my man. Appreciate you being in with us. Uni, big stage in your life. Hope it's going well. Right, so as I said, I wanted to talk about the Chiesa thing first, and I guess what your thoughts are on that Besiktas offer. I mean, I think it'd been madness for us to accept it or to even entertain it, so thankfully we didn't. But I still don't know where Chiesa's actual squad place is going to be for this season. Are we going to see Arna really utilise him, or will he still be in and around the bench getting a couple of minutes here or there? Don't you just hate the internationals? Let's be honest. Oh, Mark, I do. Dude, I do. Look, I'm one, not really into international football all that much, but two, yeah, it's a long couple of weeks. And this one's probably the most frustrating of them all, Mark, because you're only 3 games back into a brand new season, so you've got a little taste of the Reds being back in action, and then, of course, they're away, and then we've another one in October and another one in November, but thankfully after that one then we have a break to March. So yeah, I'll be glad when these ones are over, but I'll be even more glad, Mark, if we can get the boys back without any injuries or anything. And on that got me thinking the other night. So I mentioned this on the podcast, by the way, that we recorded earlier on, so if you're a member, good news, that podcast will be out at 11 o'clock tonight. Everybody else, it'll be out in the morning. But when I was going through all the fixtures and I was looking at where Liverpool players are during this international window, it got me thinking a little bit. So there are some upsides to selling Diaz and Darwin. Now, of course, some people might think that there is many upsides to selling them. Some people might think that it was a mistake to sell them. But one thing that certainly caught my attention was the international breaks where you've got players heading over to South America for the qualifiers or whatever. They're always the last ones back. So to give you an example of what I'm talking about, Cody Gakpo, Virgil van Dijk, Ryan Gravenberch and the Dutch contingent, well, they were finished on Sunday night with their international break. So they could be back Merseyside Monday, Tuesday, plenty of time to get ready, to rest up and be prepared for the Burnley game. But the players who are on international duty playing in the South American qualifiers, well, they're not going to get back in till Wednesday/Thursday. And it's a huge difference. So it got me thinking. The fact that we've signed Ugo Ekitike and Alexander Isak, both 2 European-based players, means that the travel and the tiring nature of that travel will have been reduced for Liverpool. We used to have 2 forwards in Diaz and Darwin who were over with Uruguay and Colombia and getting back in late. So this is one plus that I never really thought of for having 2 European-based strikers in the squad. Less of these long haul flights back over. And whilst we still have, of course, Alexis McAllister, Alisson Becker and that over there, we've reduced it now to just 2 countries that we have in South America with players coming back from. And that can only be a good thing. Because how many times have we seen players come back? Let's say Macca is probably a good example from the South American qualifiers and maybe not being right by the weekend or not having had enough rest or getting in very late and not being the same player. So I'm hoping that this is one of the upsides of having a few less players travelling over for those. Watching England play was painful, said Nomad, but Arsenal fans should have been used to it. It was, some of the games will feel really pointless, don't they? Like, what do you learn from England playing Andorra? Nothing, right? I don't know who really benefits from that. Maybe Andorra, I guess, as the level of the likes of themselves and Luxembourg and that have gone up. Faroe Islands, probably another one. But yeah, I tried to watch that England game as well, and it wasn't easy viewing. Paul Wright said about Guehi, Liverpool are playing it cool. Don't want Palace to think they're well up for buying him in January. Won't be expecting 25 mil then. So on that one, Paul, you've brought the Guehi situation up, and something caught my eye initially in the echo on this one. And it said, Liverpool set to play the waiting game for Mark Guehi. So it said, the echo understands that Liverpool are currently unlikely to submit a bid for Mark Guehi in the next transfer window, given that he'll be available for a free. So I sat back and I thought about this, and I didn't know whether to believe it or not. But it makes sense. I've always known that Mark Guehi didn't want the upheaval in a World Cup year. We've spoken about that previously. And yes, there will be clubs that will be in Marque's ear, talking about the likes of Real Madrid, Barca, Bayern Munich, Manchester City, by the way, according to the Daily Star, are another club interested. So the Star said Manchester City will battle Liverpool, plus Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Real Madrid, and others to sign Crystal Palace centre-back Marc Guehi in January. So it got me thinking, well, are we being naive if we don't go back in January? Are we running a risk here that maybe we're going to miss out on the player? But then I read something a little bit later on in the day, and it was from Chris Bascom, and it made me feel a bit better about it. And Chris wrote, other clubs are believed to be ready to rival Liverpool for Marc Guehi's signature, but haven't been given permission to meet the player, conduct a medical, and agree personal terms. Liverpool understand that Guehi sees his long-term future at Anfield. So that's a bonus here, right? So if he does see his long-term future at Anfield, that's a good thing. Then Liverpool maybe can wait till the end of the season and get him on a free, as much as we would have to pay him a signing-on fee and probably increase wages. But where I think this starts to unravel a little bit is when we introduce Ibrahima Konate to the situation, because then it becomes a little bit more messy. So today we'd seen, again, a whole variation of reports around Konate and his future. One report said that Konate is on the list of Real Madrid, and that was from Fabrizio Romano, and is one of the players they would like to bring in next year. It will only happen if he doesn't extend his contract at Liverpool. They maintain their thoughts are active for Konate. Conversations remain ongoing between Liverpool and the player over a new deal. Romano said October, November last year it was verbally close. Then it changed to December/January. But something else caught my eye, and it was Chris Bascom, and he said the dialogue for Konate's contract has been ongoing and a new contract has been ready to sign for a while. Liverpool do not want another 10 months of uncertainty, but are pragmatic about the outcome. Now, the reason I'm trying to tie these two together are, there's another report that said that Liverpool don't want to lose Konate on a free. That's just something they don't want to do. So if he won't commit, there was talk of a potential sale in January. But here's where it all starts to unravel for me. If we're supposed to believe that Liverpool don't want to lose Konate for free and may make a sale possible in January, well, there's no way we're going to sell Konate and not bring in Marc Guehi, right? Because then we'd be intentionally leaving ourselves short. So somebody's talking out their backside somewhere, because there's no world where we sell Konate in January, leave ourselves short for the second half of the season, which will be the business end of the season, to not bring in somebody else. So this is why I'm a little bit confused. Truthfully, don't know where we are with Konate's contract. Some reports in Spain in particular suggest that he's very close to finalising that move to Real Madrid. Where was it? The one I'm looking for. So there was one report that said that it was just the final details of Madrid's contract for Konate that is being sorted out, which I hope isn't the case, because that would be very, very concerning. So what do you guys think on it? I'm going to ask for the first poll of the night, and it's great to be back doing polls again, what you guys think on Konate's contract. So, will Konate sign a new deal? So, I just want to know, will Konate sign a new deal? Yes or no? And we'll work from there. Tom, how are we, sir? Appreciate your super chat, Tom. Said, evening, Craig. Sending all the love to you and the family. What would be your starting 11 if we were to play both Hugo and Isak? It's a really good talking point, this one, because we were talking about on the podcast this evening, and will we see a change of formation, Tom? Or will we stick with the 4-3-3 and maybe see Ugo Ekitike push to the left? But where it starts to unravel a bit is that would be really unfair, wouldn't it, on Cody Gakpo, who's just committed his future to Liverpool by signing a new long-term deal. Always chips in with his fair amount of goals. So I'm struggling a little bit, Tom, to figure out the best way. If we're being honest and frank about this, and this is going to probably ruffle a few feathers, but if we're being honest about it and we're picking off form, you'd have to say if Salah's form doesn't pick up in the next few weeks/months, certainly a question mark there about what to do. Do you keep playing him and keep playing him, or do you start maybe pushing Gakpo across to the right, putting Ekitike on the left and playing Isak through the centre? So the truth is, Tom, at this moment in time, mate, I don't know the answer to your question of what will be my strongest 11. I'll have a go with it for you, of course, because you've been kind enough to send in the super chat. So I'd say Alisson in goal, Frimpong at right back, Konate, Virgil, Kirkes, Gravenberch, and this is where it becomes tricky. Because what do you do then with Wirtz? What do you do with Szoboszlai and Maka? Does one give way? Or do we tweak a system where we maybe have the back four, Maka and Gravenberch a little bit deeper, and then a 2-2 ahead of them? So is it like a Szoboszlai and a Wirtz? Then you've got something like a Salah and an Ekitike, or an Ekitike and an Isak. It's uncharted territory for us, so I'm not really sure, Tom, what to name in 11. If you're sticking with the formation that we have, I don't know. Who do you leave out between Szoboszlai and Wirtz? Because, let's be honest, Szoboszlai's been incredible. Probably our best player at the start of the season. So I struggle to see who we figure out leaving out in that scenario. So, kind of a messy answer for you, dude. But truth is, I don't know. Because it depends on the opposition and it depends on who's in form. But it's a good question to kick us off tonight, and I guess will spark a bit of a debate. Stevie boy, Craig, what do you believe will happen with Konate? So, I have to say that I'm not answering this question from a position of information. I'm just answering as a fan who's trying to piece it all together. I think he leaves, because if you look at it, Liverpool tried to bring in Mark A, so they must maybe have a fear about Konate's long-term future. We know Giovanni Leone was brought in for the long term, so he's going to be around for hopefully the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So I have to feel that Konate is edging towards the exit door. I wouldn't give up hope yet, Stevie boy, on a maybe extending, but my gut feeling is, unless Liverpool maybe give ground on the offer that they've sent to him, whether it's the amount of guaranteed money or the bonuses that are seemingly the problem, I don't know. But I do know I don't want to go through another season with what we're talking about already. Real Madrid, reports in Spain, and a whole year of will they or won't they. So I hope the club do make a definitive decision on it sooner or later. And, I just can't see a world now where you sell him in January. I just can't. In a World Cup year, will Konate want to move in January if he's not going to stay at Liverpool? Probably not, because he's going to forgo a hell of a lot of money then on signing for Madrid on a free contract. So I just don't think at this point selling him is feasible. So the only options now are renew or leave on a free for me. Now, the club may want to sell him in January, but if you're Konate, would you accept that? Knowing that, one, it's a World Cup year and you're trying to get into the French squad, so do you really want to move to a new club halfway through a season? Probably not. Also, like I mentioned, the financials of it, you'd be forgoing a fairly significant signing on fee that you'd get if you signed a pre-contract with the likes of Madrid in January. So, yeah, my gut feeling is that he leaves, but it's not based off anything other than a guess and some intuition. Chad, how are we, sir? And let me say thank you again, Chad. Those Huskers jerseys arrived today, and a baseball cap and a t-shirt, and absolutely legend, mate. Thank you so much for that. But to get to your comment, you said, "Good day, Craig. Hope all is well." 'Tis, sir. It's good. I'm enjoying myself. Had a nice relaxing weekend and glad to be back at it. I've seen several articles calling for Salah to be out of the starting 11. It might be best for the team, but I wonder how that would affect the morale. It's kind of interesting that you brought this up, Chad, because I was discussing this tonight with the lads on the podcast, and I asked kind of the same thing. Where's your head at with the Salah situation? I would be of the mindset that nobody's undroppable, but I would also give him a bit of leeway for a few reasons. One, he's earned the right to have maybe a period at the start of a season where we're unsure. I don't think that he's fallen off a cliff. I don't think that his legs are suddenly gone. But I do think the situation with Diogo and the changing of the guard, if you want, at Anfield, might have a part to play in this. So Mo mentioned this himself. He's still getting used to Hugo Ekitike and the movements. If you mix in Isak on top of that, Florian Wirtz in behind, I can totally understand why maybe Mo is struggling a little bit to get to the levels that we're so used to. But how long Arna lets it go, how understanding he is, I don't know the answer to that one. I think as long as we keep winning games, Chad, the manager will probably get a bit more good grace with it, as will Mo. But if it starts to impact results, and maybe we're not getting wins and Salah's not playing the way we're used to, then maybe it becomes a bit of a bigger problem. But I certainly don't expect them to be benched anytime soon. I think, we have to be understanding as fans that the Diogo situation certainly hit him hard, and, he has enough good grace with us from the many excellent years of service and numbers that he's put up. So, tough one. I'm glad I'm not in Arna's shoes, but I also want to back that up by saying something else. If it does continue on for a little bit, I don't think he should be undroppable, or at least I don't think he should be unsubbable. You know, everybody has to hit the standards required. And when the pressure for places is increased, when you bring in the likes of Alexander Isak and Hugo Ekitike, and you've got young Rio coming through, well, you're going to have to be maintaining your levels or it will become an issue. But for me, I'm not expecting a change just yet. But it's a really interesting point and one I'd like to hear the chat's views on. Michael Dunstan said, I think he's going to go, Craig, and I hope you had a lovely couple of days off with the family. I did, thank you, mate, yes. And the missus would deserve a break. Thank you for all your hard work. My pleasure. Oh, I think I might have some actually good news on the Anfield Agenda front. It's not set in concrete yet, but it's really, really, really likely that we're going to build that studio in the next few months. I have a builder coming on Saturday to finalise a couple of designs, and yeah, we might be good to go. We might have a dedicated Anfield Agenda studio by, I don't know, the next few months. So keep your fingers crossed for me on that one, because it's something we've been building towards to try and get sorted out for 3 or 4 years now. So I'll be really, really, really proud if we can get that one done. And of course, then I can give the living room back to the missus. What have we got? Absolutely agreed. Winning solves a lot of problems. It does, Chad. It does. And, you know, certainly for me as a fan, I'm okay if Mo's not at his best if we're winning games. But if these results start dropping to draws where maybe we could have gotten wins, then yeah, I think it becomes a bit more of an issue for Arna. But right now, as you mentioned, winning covers up a lot. Stargirl, how are you, my friend? Said they should go for Nathan Collins in January with the uncertainty of Konate, and if we don't get Guehi in the summer, we still have a decent defender. So the problem there is Nathan Collins has 4 years to go on his Brentford deal, and Brentford have the option of 2 more years on top of that. He's also their captain, and they've been rinsed of a lot of players. So I wouldn't be against it. I'm a fan of Nathan Collins, you know, both from an Irish perspective and, of course, in the Premier League. I just don't think it's one that we could get done for any type of what would even be a semblance of a reasonable fee. It would be an expensive one. But speaking about expensive ones, I want to talk about something Stefan Borson said. I'll read this out to you. He was talking about the amount of money that it will cost Liverpool to sign Alexander Isak over the course of the 6 years. And the number mentioned is an eye-watering one. So let me read this out to you. He said, for Newcastle, they clear out 125 million net on the transaction, so that goes into their coffers. And Liverpool, you're talking about the 125 million pound transfer fee. You've got maybe 5 million in solidarity payments, 5 million on Premier League levy. You've got agents' fees. He said it's going to be about 150 million. And then you've probably got the same number again in wages over the next 6 years. So he reckons it's a 300 million pound deal over 6 years for Liverpool. It's a massively expensive deal, but he goes on to say, but he's a brilliant player. Does it make sense? I don't know. You can only judge these things after the event, he said. But on the face of it, it does make sense. Even though it's very expensive, it obviously won't be repeated every summer. This is an exceptional summer for Liverpool. So we just wanted to get your thoughts on that. A potential £300 million cost to Liverpool over 6 years. So what would that be? 50 million a year between wages and the amortization of the transfer fee. It's a lot of money, but, you know, if it's a fruitful one, if he starts banging in goals, then, you know, we won't be talking about the money. But I just wanted to bring it up because, as I said, 300 million is not an insignificant amount of money. You could buy yourself a Newcastle for 300 million back in the day. Nedge, thank you, sir. Nedge Urban Sports said, Salah has to be central. No pace to be the man anymore. So I kind of came to terms with his pace dropping off a little bit. But what has wound me up a little bit, Nedge, is the amount of passes that are ricocheting off legs or not getting past the first man when Salah gets into position. Now, he has the ability to pick out a wonderful pass, and he has this particular pass that I really like, which is like a an angular one towards the byline where we've an underlapping run player who comes in and connects with it. But I do get your point on the pace, but it's something that I think hasn't really suddenly dropped off. I think it's been there, the lack of pace, for a while. And there's seemingly no intention to play him central so far from what we've seen, despite many of us as fans talking about the prospect of Mo playing centrally. It's not something that we've seen yet. So I'm with you, but so seemingly Arna isn't at the minute. Keith said, hope you've got the credit card cleared and ready for 9 a.m. tomorrow. I'm sure you'll be indulging in some green items. I will, but it won't be in the morning. Yeah, I won't be in the morning because I don't do mornings, but I have got my eye on certain bits and pieces that we'd seen today. We got a little leak of a few bits that are coming out. So if anybody doesn't know what we're speaking about, Liverpool's third shirt. Definitely not. Liverpool's third shirt, the great shirt, the green one, will be out tomorrow. So keep your eye out for that one. It will have the old Adidas logo on it, the old Liverpool logo on it, and one that I'm very much looking forward to, but it's the training gear for me, Keith. That's going to cause me a lot of problems. But yeah, it's ready, basically. Yes, mate. And for me, credit card, no. Business purchases, mate. Uniform, don't you know? So at least I'll be able to go down that route and I won't have to listen to the missiles given out to me. Just Connor instead. But that's okay. I probably deserve to be given out to at this point. Hermaine Khan, how are you? Said, hey Craig. Yo, Craig, did you see Wirtz's free kick yesterday? Oh, I did, my friend. Yes, I did. I even threw it into the WhatsApp channel. It was incredible. What a free kick. I mean, Dominic Szoboszlai, eat your heart out. But yeah, that was top notch from him. And hopefully, gives him a little bit of confidence because he's still settling into the Premier League and life at Liverpool. But yeah, if you haven't seen the free kick that Hermaine is speaking about, have a look at it. Absolute worldy. Just knuckleball, as you'd say, just weaves through the air, drops down, and no chance for the Northern Irish keeper. But delighted that he scored it, mate, and hopefully, we've got some competition for set piece takers now in the Premier League. We've seen what Dominic Szoboszlai can do. We know Maka can hit them. Salah doesn't mind hitting one either. Wirtz can hit them with a push, and now you can throw in Florian Wirtz to that mix as well. Scotty said, Craig, do you know if JD sells Liverpool shirts? They do, yeah. But sometimes, I don't know if it's the same with the green one. Some of the outlets weren't able to sell them online in store until the 14th when the other shirt came out. So I'm not sure if there'll be something similar, Scotty, with the green shirt. If Liverpool have, let's say, dibs on selling it first between them and Adidas before it goes into other shops. Crimbo82 said Konate is gone defo. Yeah, I'm probably leaning that way, but I don't want to come on here and say to anybody this is happening because I haven't got a clue. But my gut feeling is it's not looking great. Stargirl said, exciting to hear about your studio. Will it have a bar? No, don't drink, so there's no need for one. You could do your streaming from a nice sofa. Well, that's the plan. If we do get everything going ahead, we'll have the normal scene like you see now. We'll have a sofa watch-along scene where we'll have no green screen, just trophies around me, memorabilia on the walls, and me sitting on a sofa in front of the TV. We'll have an area where I can stand up and make content. And of course, there'll be a dartboard in it as well for meditation purposes. But thank you. This is something I've been trying to get sorted for years and years. And we've been saving up in the company to try and make it happen. We got a price we were very pleasantly surprised with. I got quotes for this before a couple of years ago and the prices were astronomical. Now, a bit more reasonable. So, keep your fingers crossed for me because it's looking very possible. And, I want to just say again, a huge thank you to my family and my wife because they give up the living room every night for me to do this. And being able to give the living room back to them would be nice. Mike's on a wind-up. Come on, Mike. I respect it. Let me say that. Nathan Collins wouldn't want to move in a World Cup year. Don't write us off just yet, Mike. Don't write us off just yet. You never know. We could be the outsiders. We're in a small group. And it was going to come down to, how we get on against the likes of Portugal and Hungary away. But that draw at home, we've got a couple of handy games that we could get back-to-back wins in. So don't write us off just yet, my man. Darshan said no punching bags for frustration. That could be a shout, mate. Darshan, that could be a shout, bro. I might have to put that one on the back burner and have a little think about it. I do need to take out frustration sometimes, Darshan. So you might be that and a bit of exercise as well at the same time. Joseph Purvis LFC said that Salah pass to Gakpo against City was moist. I like it. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but I'm gonna make sure that I go and have a look up for it because my memory is like a goldfish, dude. So, but yeah, he has played some really, really good passes. I've mentioned it a couple of times over the last year or two. It's been an aspect of Mo's game that I do think he's gotten better with. This one from Stephen. Thank you, Stephen McGrew. Appreciate you, sir. Welcome in. Said, I see Mo's performance increasing with more time with new teammates and timings. Isak should draw some attention. Also, I think Konate is leaving, which is why Liverpool went after Guehi hard. I like our future. So I agree with you on the future, mate. Absolutely. You bring in Mark Guehi. That's a great bit of business for me if we get that one done. Giovanni Leone, of course, is still at the club. It remains to be seen what Joe Gomez's long-term future is, but Liverpool turned down the possibility of sending him to Palace on loan, so they seemingly think he's got an important role to play this year. And on Konate, yeah, my head is that he's probably going to go, but look, I don't want to write it off because it's not. I knew with Trent. I think everybody knew with Trent, but with Konate, I'm probably 70% that he's going to go, but I had info with Trent that made it feel like, yeah, he's going, but on this one, oh, Isak's coming on. Oh, keep your fingers crossed, toes crossed, nostril hairs crossed, everything. Isak coming on. There you go. Some much needed minutes in the legs for what? What would he have there? 25 to go or something in that game. So, yeah, good news to see him getting some minutes. Cormac Cronin, brilliant question, dude, and thank you for asking it. Cormac Cronin said, when do you think Arne will get a new deal? Well, he's only got a year after this year left. So he signed a 3-year deal, Cormac, if my memory's right, when he came in. Can't do much better than winning the league in your first season, can you? So you'd have to imagine he'll get a new contract before this season's out anyway. It's an interesting one. I totally get why Liverpool would have given him 3 years when he came in, You don't want to overcommit to a new coach like that, especially one coming in after Jurgen, but he proved his worth in the first year, so deserving of a new deal. And I'm sure the club, after the investment they've made into the playing squad, of Arne's thought processes of the likes of Isak, you would imagine that a new contract for him will be on the way. But yeah, good point and well made, sir. Don't be telling me Isak's down already, lads. Don't be saying that to me, having me nervous already. Tell me he's got back up, will you, when he gets back up, because, yeah, that's nervy. Oh, he's back on his feet. Good stuff, good stuff. He's had me worried there. Right, let's check back in on our poll. So, we asked, will Ibrahima Konate sign a new deal at Liverpool, yes or no? We'll leave it running a bit longer. I know it's a quieter one, so we'll leave it, try and get towards 1,500, 2,000 votes. But if you haven't voted, please do. Amar said, if Konate leaves on a free, getting Guehi on a free would be excellent. It would. Now, remember, there's no such thing as a free, really, mate. You would get a signing on bonus and stuff like that. Although, to be fair, if Konate extended, he'd have got a loyalty bonus as well. So, yeah, probably money they would have been spending. But here's where I have a bit of a problem with it. On the face of what you've said, Amar, no problem. But we have to be honest about this as well and know what we're going to be in for this season. So, if Konate's situation drags on, we're going to have the Trent media stuff all over again. The whole season we'll be reading every single week about Madrid and Konate and how Alonso sees him playing here and how we'll be playing alongside this person, and it's tiring, which is why it would have been great if we had been able to get the Mark A stuff sorted, because I don't really care what anyone else says to me about this, because I'm a diehard in this mindset. You're never getting the best of somebody. if they're leaving at the end of the year. I'm not saying somebody can't be professional. They can. But you're never getting the best out of them. You're never going to have a player who's as focused as if their future is at the club. I think that's just human nature. So for me, that would be my concern. If Konate's form or he's not playing the way we know he can, what do we do? Does the manager have the ability within him to really make that decision to pull him out of the team? Would Giovanni Leone be ready to come in? Joe Gomez, it's a difficult call to make, but I'm really struggling to know where we're at with Leone. There's no doubt in my mind he's a huge talent, but until I start seeing him playing quite a bit, I really have difficulty believing he's a here and now player. And same with Rio Ngamoa. I've no problem believing Rio Ngamoa is going to be a star. I've no problem believing he'll be at Liverpool for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. But I do have a problem in thinking that he is an actual 1 of 6 attacking option for us that the manager feels he can use every week if needs be. And I'm the same with Leone, because we're going to need to see these guys on the pitch, right? Now, we've seen enough of Rio Ngamoa to know he's got it. But again, it's about developing him correctly. But with Salah being away at the AFCON, with Chiesa, again, not really being match fit and kind of up in the air, I'm worried in that regard for the two younger players, if they're really thought of by the manager as ready, or are these signings for the future that are being dressed up as ones that are ready for the here and now. Oro98 said, don't dare play Konate anymore. It's a tough one though. Like, if you brought in Mark A, this situation would have been a lot less stressful for us fans. But like I said, I'm sure we're going to be told he's professional. I'm sure Konate will, do all the things that he's supposed to do. But just mentally, I struggle to believe that people are as dedicated, as physically and mentally tuned in as if their future was at the club. I just don't really believe that anybody's that way. Great show. In the know, Craig. I don't know what you mean with the rest of that, Lee. Sorry, it doesn't make sense to me. JCF102 said, don't think Leone is anywhere near ready to be a starter. I don't know is the truth, mate, because I haven't seen enough of him. We know he's a talent. We know he's very highly thought of right throughout the game. But even just look at the Italian national team. So he was called up by Gennaro Gattuso for this camp, but yet he hasn't been in either matchday squad. So what's the point of that? And I hope we don't see a similar thing with Arne, seeing his name on the bench all season, but not getting minutes. Because they bought this guy to be a here and now centre-back, to be one of our 4 centre-back options. So we don't really have the luxury of not using him this season, because we're going to need him in games. So maybe we'll see him in the League Cup against Southampton, but let's wait and see. Hopefully, for a few goals up at Turf Moor or something, maybe Arne feels he can bring him on against Burnley. But I want to see him on the pitch, because in my mind we have 3 senior centre-backs and a youngster who we haven't really seen yet. Merlin said, been off for a week. Nice to see you hit 350. Yes, thank you so much to everyone that did help us hit that. We just about got there before we took our few days off. So, when you take time off, the subs drop a bit as people unsubscribe and you're not live or whatever. So, yeah, I was hoping we didn't drop back below it, but so far so good. So if you haven't subscribed, please do and help us push a little bit further on. But also don't forget to hit that like button for me. Right. Let's give you some comments from Ugo Ekatike on his price tag and a move to Liverpool. He said, it's a big transfer. I'm watched 1,000 times more than before, but I take it as a positive. It's the position I wanted to be in. When you have these kind of standards, you have to show that you deserve your place here and continue to perform. It's a position that I like to be in and one I want to keep. Speaking about competing with Alexander Isak, he said, when you play for the best teams, you expect to be competing with the best players. Isak is a player I've watched too, so seeing him arrive is a pleasure. It's going to be a tough competition, but I'm going to focus on performing well so that it's a problem for the manager. I love it. I love everything he said there. That's exactly what I want to hear from somebody coming to the club. It's I know what club I'm at. I know it's a big club. I know there's going to be competition, but I back myself and I'm going to make sure the manager has tough decisions to make. I love that. Right, so Mark sent me on the officials for the Burnley game. So I haven't even read these out yet. The referee for the game against Burnley is apparently England's best, Michael Oliver. Let's wait and see. The assistants, Stuart Burke and James Mainwaring. Fourth official, Chris Kavanagh. VAR, Paul Tierney. And assistant VAR, Edward Smart. So again, referee Michael Oliver, assistant Stuart Burke and James Mainwaring. Fourth official, Chris Kavanagh. VAR, Paul Tierney. And VAR assistant, Edward Smart. So there you go. Make of that what you will. They're the officials for the game of the weekend. Michael Dunstein said, would love to see you get 1 million subscribers. I don't know if we'll ever get there, dude, but I tell you what, I'm really happy with where we're at anyway. Whatever the future has in store for us, 350,000 is more than I ever hoped for when we started this project. Man City's charges being dropped, that's absolutely fake and not true in the slightest. So again, let's put this to bed before it starts to snowball. Manchester City's ATP or APT, Associated Party Transactions case with the Premier League has been settled, which has absolutely nothing to do with the charges against them. It's a separate case where they challenge the legality of blocking certain sponsorship deals, which the Premier League have done for City before. They had a huge deal with Etihad Airways and another one that was blocked. They challenged that legally, which led to the Premier League having to rewrite the laws of associated party transactions. That was then challenged again by Manchester City. So what today's one was an agreement being reached. Now, we don't know what the agreement is, by the way, because again, there's this veil of secrecy around these things that for a sport that talks about transparency doesn't seem to be very transparent a lot of the time. But today's one was nothing to do with the charges. It was solely around associated party transactions or sponsorship deals. And we don't actually know what the result of it is because all we know is that it's been settled, the case between the Premier. So apologies, I just need to know if we're buffering or not. Mark, mate, am I buffering on your end? Because like it shows it's back to normal now for me, but yeah. Was it buffering there for you guys as well? Sorry, don't know what that was. But we're back. So yeah, apologies on that. Thankfully it was only a few seconds anyway, but we're back. Cool. Sorry about that one. Yeah, we'll move on anyway. Sorry about that. Where was I at? Where are we at? Where are we at? Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what stage I was at. Not that one. Okay, so Newcastle defender Emil Kraft was speaking a little bit about Alexander Isak, and this again is a good view of why the media are full of shit a lot of the time on these things. So he said, the media wrote that the locker room would be divided around the Alexander Isak situation, but he said that is certainly not true. Football players understand football players, and we can only wish him the best of luck. And again, to me, this just kind of leans into, once again, the very one-sided coverage of the whole Isak situation in the media, which was portraying him as solely the villain in all of this and the big problem. And Emil Kraft, Newcastle player there, said, no, wouldn't have been any issue because players understand that these things happen in football and it happens to all players. So good to know that normality has been restored there. Craig, so it's true that City can receive 1 billion sponsorship. I don't know. Like I said, I can't say to you what is agreed and what isn't because all that was told to us was that the case was settled. That's all that's been put out there into the media. Because again, the Premier League say that these things have to remain private and confidential, which is absolutely horseshit when all of us, the fans, are funding the game through TVs, sponsorship, or through TV subscriptions, jerseys, match ticket sales, but yet we're all pushed out into the cold in this veil of secrecy. Football has a mad problem with transparency for me. And it always has done. And it needs to be more open and transparent. And why shouldn't everybody involved in football know what this ruling was today between Manchester City and the Premier League? Why shouldn't we know how it was settled? I guess we'll find out if Manchester City are allowed to have these big sponsorship deals. But like I said, today, all that we found was the case was settled. We don't know. And again, it is nothing to do with the 130 odd charges against them. It's a separate thing altogether. Do the owners of Man City also own Etihad? Well, it's a state airline, I believe. So yes, technically. So associated party transactions basically mean that if, let's say you are Etihad and you want to sponsor Manchester City for $1 billion, as that gentleman said a moment ago. Well, there used to be a methodology where the Premier League would look at this deal and then look at it and stress test it against other deals from big clubs with sponsorships to see if it is fair market value. And that was in place for a long time. And that's why Manchester City were denied this sponsorship deal initially, because the Premier League looked at it and said that that isn't fair market value. But what we know was Manchester City went and challenged this, and initially the way the rules were written were found to be illegal. So that was changed again. But what we don't know now is what the outcome is, except for it was settled. So in a world where we know roughly what sponsorship deals are, it's going to be very interesting to see, because Manchester City are nowhere near as big a club as they like to have the world believe, in my opinion. And you can see that with the lack of people inside the ground a lot of the time. Liverpool could command huge fees. United could command huge fees. Manchester City's one's going to be interesting to look at, because I do believe it will be inflated. I do. I don't think they're going to get market value for how big they are as a club compared to their owner's wealth. So yeah, I think it's going to be frustrating for us, but it is what it is. Jay Cliff said, regarding Konate, feel he's not going to sign with Guehi January move, 50 million max, take it or leave it. Plus, if we sold Konate for 15 million in January, it'd be ideal. So on that, I just can't see a world where Konate goes in January, unless it's to Madrid. Like that would be leaving us with 3. And also, it would then let Steve Parish know that Liverpool were going to have to pay him some decent money for Guehi. And what we've known about Mark Guehi in the past is he said he didn't want to move mid-season in a World Cup year. So there's a lot of uncertainty around the whole lot of it, Jay Cliff. But for me, I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me that we're in this position again with another player. What's this one? Who's shortlisted for the Hall of Fame? So Campbell, Carrick, Defoe, Evra, Fabregas, Ferdinand, Fowler, Hazard, Vidic, Van der Sar, Torre, Silva, Sheringham, Owen, Neville, all shortlisted for the Premier League Hall of Fame. Interesting enough, I guess. Right, let's keep going. Don't care if he wants to go, that's fine. I'm of the mindset as well. If Konate doesn't want to be here, I have no problem with him going, but I just don't like us having to depend on him for the season. If, he's the partner for Van Dijk, I just don't believe you're going to see the best of him this year. And I was the same with Trent, with his future being maybe away from Anfield, but ultimately, I hope the club learn from this, because we can't have another situation where this happens again. We had 3 last year, and I can't speak for everybody else, but I certainly know for me, it had an impact on my enjoyment of last season, worrying about Van Dijk, Salah, and Trent's situation. At least we got the outcome we expected in that Mo stayed, Virgil stayed, Trent went, but yeah. Oh, I wanted to talk to you guys and ask you a question. On the podcast earlier on, I asked the guys a question that I think was a very interesting one, and I'd love to ask you guys the same question. So we'll start off with the first one. I asked the 2 gents on the pod earlier on, have you any seller's remorse on a particular sale that Liverpool made this summer? So was there a player that you would have preferred that Liverpool didn't sell? Whether it be because you don't think we got enough of a transfer fee or because maybe you wish they still stayed. So I'll give you my example. For me, I thought we could have gotten more money for Guehi and Kelleher. I thought, yes, he's only got a year to go on his deal. I understood that. But I think the 12 and a half, 13 million quid we got was just too low for how good a goalkeeper he was. So for me, that's the one that I would have said, not seller's remorse, but I think we could have gotten more money from it. I guess the other big talking point would be Luis Diaz. Do you think it was the right decision to sell him? I mean, he's hit the ground running at Bayern. He was a big part of our success last year, but we also know that Liverpool wouldn't seemingly give him a bumper new deal, and that was lingering as well. So I understood that one, but they're the two for me. Mayor Singh Garcha said Kelleher, Diaz, and Doak. See, Doak I think was genius. Like Ben Doak cost us 600 grand, made very few senior appearances for us, and we got 25 million quid for. I think that was genius because that's a lot of profit there for a player that didn't really play much first team football for us. But there is a player in there as well, so I do get where you're coming from. Elliott, Kelleher, and Diaz for Suleiman. See, the Elliott one I'm okay with because we have the buyback clause there. So whatever happens with Harvey Elliott, we have that buyback clause and the sell-on clause. So I think we've covered ourselves with that one. So yeah, I'm okay with that one because of the buyback. I would have sold Mamardashvili and kept Kelleher. Genuine think he's top 4 keepers in the world, said Shit Crew 1124. Terry Jake said Ben Doak would be seller's regret for him. Diaz or Elliott for Andy Partridge. Sharkovic said agree with you, Craig. Lucho for Didier Van Dessel. I get that completely. Like, I was okay with Diaz because I thought the fee we got was a substantial fee. But I was also okay with keeping him because he's a very, very good player that always gives 100%, chips in with his good amount of goals as well. But knowing that Rio Ngamoa was there as well coming through and that the club are going to be giving Cody Gakpo a new deal, whilst I wasn't happy with selling Diaz, I certainly understood it. So another question, flip it around again, that I put to you guys is, tell me if there's a player that you think Liverpool overpaid a bit for and why this summer with the business that we did. So again, I'll give you my answer to kick us off. I think we overpaid for Isak, but it was a seller's market and he was the guy that we wanted. I said many, many times throughout the summer, I like Isak, happy we brought him in, but I viewed him as a 90 to 100 million pound footballer. I think in the market that we're in and the price of strikers we're going for and the situation with his length of contract at Newcastle, yeah, it was always going to be an expensive one. But I definitely feel we overpaid somewhat for Isak. Now, if he scores a bag full of goals for the next few years, who cares? We won't talk about this again. But that's the one for me that I felt there was a little bit there that maybe we could have saved a few quid on. But either way, it's still a great player to come in, so I'm more than happy that he came in. But again, we're nitpicking here, and I'm certainly not trying to complain about our summer transfer business because I'm over the moon with it. It was brilliant. And fair play to the owners, to Hughes, to Edwards, and everybody. But that was the one for me. Isak and Hugo, said Mike. Ekatike for Sharkovic. Naturalist said agree with Kelleher. Oh, Naturalist, well, I have you here. I'm still waiting for those scarves to arrive. So I've paid the import taxes and all on them. Some reason they still haven't been delivered to me. So I will send that badge and that scarf over to Canada to you ASAP. I'm just still waiting for it to come in. So I didn't want you feeling I'd forgotten. Just wanted to, well, I had you on the stream to say that to you. Right, agree that Kelleher was not a good deal. Also, did no one advise Kelleher where to go? Where does everybody knew Frank was leaving and the club is only there because of Thomas Frank? It feels a weird one for him to go to Brentford, but, you know, I guess looking at it another way, he's now got an Irish manager there in Keith Andrews. He's got the Irish centre-back ahead of him. So, from that regard, it's good for the Irish team as well, and he's, you know, getting that repetition of playing with Nathan Collins ahead of him. SMD said, to be honest, we've spent so well, I wouldn't say anybody was overpaid. LFC Drew said Ekatike. Andy Partridge said, yes, we overpaid for Isak, but nothing like Newcastle and their overspend on Voltmada. Oh, mate, I'm 100% with you on that one. That was that was one that I agree with you on. They absolutely overpaid. Like, look at their initial offer for Visa. It was 25 million quid, and they spent 55 million in the end. And Voltmada, was it 90 million euro? Something like that. Which, Bayern were buyers at about 45, 50 million euro, and they were trying to buy him. So I agree with you on that one, Andy, 100%. Kai Hunter said, I know that Arna didn't really seem to trust him. I quite like Kwanzaa. I think we got good money for Kwanzaa, especially with him not going to another English club. To have gotten the money we did for him, I was happy with that. If it means we brought in Giovanni Leone as well, I think he will be a better centre-back over time. But I guess we should have pointed out as well that we do have the buyback option in Kwanzaa's deal. Jay Cliff said, Craig, also, if Elise is potential to replace Salah, he'd be another homegrown player to the squad list. He would. And, I do think there is truth to that, of him being the long-term Salah replacement, but I guess we'll have to wait a bit longer to find that one out. David, how are we, sir? Thank you. As always, lovely to see you win, and glad to see you go home safely from the holidays. So they were the questions I posed to the guys, but here's the third one, when we're sticking with the transfer window. Tell me, and don't go for the lazy big options, give me what you think is a good bit of business by a club that isn't Liverpool in this summer's transfer window. So when I asked the guys this question on the podcast, one of the answers was Jack Grealish to Everton. And I have to say, I think Steve was right with that. It was a good shout. I know it's only a loan, but I do think he'll have a big impact on Everton's season. So other shouts that we had for good bits of business by other clubs were Eze and Arsenal as an example. People thought, in our chat, that was a good one. Steve also thought Cherky and Manchester City, for the price they paid, was a good bit of business. So let us know what ones that you think. Ned said Isak's been really good in the 20 minutes, considering he's not played for months. Summerpool said Kelleher should be 40 to 50. Well, the reason he wasn't on, I still do think we sold him cheaply, was because he only had 1 year left on his Liverpool deal. So we do have to keep that in mind as well. He said Elliott the same. Yeah, we got 35 and I think a loan fee, which will bring it closer to 40, I believe. And we have the buyback in there. So I think that was what we always roughly expected for Elliott. Diaz probably another 10 mil. I think the price we got there was fair, but I wouldn't have said no to another 10 mil either. You said Nunes was about right. Same with Kwanzaa. Can you see us selling Mo in the summer? I don't know is the honest answer, mate. I don't think Mo will want to move on a sale. I think when he signed that 2-year deal, he signed it with the full intention of seeing out the 2 years, breaking more records and seeing what happens at the end of it. So I don't expect that he'd be open to a sale after a year, but like I said, I don't know either way. Onana away from Man United, said Jacko. That's a sad one, It's a sad one if he does. We'd like to see him stay and continue his great work there. And thank you, Jacko, for the super chat, my man. And Womo, Aaron said at United, I think he's a good signing, but I wouldn't put him up there as one of the best bits of business of the window. But he's a good signing for United, definitely. Kudos to Spurs, Adam Heen said, which is a good shout. Grealish for sure, Diaz, but they had to pay Kelleher and Pedro to Brentford. Yeah, Connor said João Pedro to Chelsea was a signing that he thought was good business this summer. Because I've always said I think João Pedro was underrated, and when we discussed him as a potential option for Liverpool at some points, people were almost scoffing at it. But I always thought there was a player in there. LFC Spectre said João Pedro. Adam Christmas said Truffer at Bournemouth. That's a good shout, Adam. He looked very good in the opening few games as a replacement for Kirkes. That's a good shout. Sean Mack said Sunderland getting Granit Xhaka. Yeah, there's another decent shout, mate. Certainly brought in a lot of Premier League experience and leadership into that Sunderland team. David said Tyler Dibbling to Neverton. That's a weird one. But if you look at the price of it, David, they were quoting 100 million last year for Tyler Dibbling, and they got him for what? Just under 40, I think. So good price, but will Tyler Dibbling regret going to Everton in the long term? I don't know, but it's a good signing for Everton, definitely. Naturalist said João Palhinha to Spurs. That'll be an interesting one because it didn't really work out well for him. He was brilliant at Fulham when he was there, but it didn't really work out too well when he went over to the Bundesliga. Andy Partridge said Truffert is a great shout. He's been really good. Yeah, it was. It was a belter of a shout. Keane said to Kuiper to Brighton. Well, you know I've been a fan of his for a while, mate. When he was at Club Brugge, I was talking about us having a look at him. I think age probably worked against them for us. Gary Jenkins said Henderson to Brentford as a good piece of business. I don't know. I wouldn't. Jeez, I don't think I'd have that one up there, mate, as one of the ones I'd be pointing out as a great deal. I mean, I understand the deal. Let me put it that way from an experience perspective. Mark Harding said, would rather we kept Diaz and sold Gakpo. Wow. I wouldn't. For a couple of reasons. One, Gakpo has age on him. And whatever we think about Cody Gakpo, I think you need to look at the goal scoring numbers. He always chips in with a fair amount every season. So, yeah, I just want to defend Cody on that one. But again, not saying you are having a dig. You're entitled to your opinion. And thank you, Mark, for being a member with us as well for 11 months. Right, let's end this poll. So we asked, will Konate sign the new deal? 80% of nearly 2,500 people that voted said no. They don't think that Ibu will sign the new deal. LFC Spectre said Ryan Aitnuri to City. So will I tell you what that one was? That one was tough shit, we lost out on Milos Kerkez. That's exactly what that signing was. And I agree it being a good piece of business, but I also love knowing that they had to go for Aitnuri because they couldn't get Kerkez. Like they had to go for Cherky because they couldn't get our boy Wirtz. You know, these things make me happy. Coleman said, my dad acting like Diaz was Neymar for us or something after he left. No, look, Diaz was a really good player for Liverpool. I don't think we should ever talk about him in the sense of anything but at least it was a fair price. And with Rio there, the club just looked to youthfulness, I guess, for Rio and Cody on the left-hand side for the future. But I think I would have been more than happy if Diaz stayed. But, you know, maybe Diaz going was the thing that allowed us to put the money up for Isak. Yes, Keita Edwards made a damn good point. Thank you for bringing up this point as well, because that is the one thing about the whole Diaz situation, Keita, that really did annoy me. You said, and Gakpo doesn't go around talking about wanting to play for other teams. Yes, thank you for bringing that up, because that wound me up fierce when Diaz was talking about Barca and stuff, and his dad was talking about it. That was annoying. David Massett said, can't see any better deal than when we got McAllister. Oh, we robbed them. I know we had a release clause in there, David, but my God, we robbed them, didn't we? What was he, £38 million? Something like that for Alexis McAllister? That is just filthy good. Like, so good. Cop Wolf said Milner on a free. Yep, another great free transfer for Liverpool. James Milner, Gary McAllister, some of my favourite free transfers for the Reds. Joel Matip, another brilliant free transfer for us as well. Tommy Roach said, glad to see Isak getting 20 minutes tonight. Yep, it's brilliant, mate, and it can only be good for Liverpool as well. That's 20 match competitive minutes in his legs. Yeah, do you think we'll see Isak get some minutes off the bench at Turf Moor at the weekend? Because me and Steve were talking about this on the pod as well, and kind of differing on when we think Isak will be available for a start. I don't think you'll see him start for Liverpool until after the next international break. That's my sincere guess, but Steve reckons we'll see him start before that. Fernando Morientes. Oh, that was one, Rob. I was so happy when he came to Liverpool. I loved Fernando Morientes, even though he was a Madrid player for most of his career. Yeah, I loved him, and I loved knowing he played for Liverpool. Same with Thiago. I love that I'll always be able to say Thiago Alcantara played for Liverpool Football Club. Joseph Purvis said VVD was a bargain. Certainly was. We paid a bit more than probably we would have because of the whole Blackpool thing. But yeah, I mean, nobody talks about Van Dijk's price now, do they? It's just 75 million looks like a bargain at this point, which is mad considering it was a huge fee. Keane said Isak will start before the next international because of the Sweden games. He's only had 20 minutes though, and 4 training sessions. So it's not a whole lot, but look, it's still something, mate. You're right. It is still something. We've got Burnley, Atletico Madrid, Chelsea, Southampton in the League Cup. I can't remember what the Everton. I think they're the games between now and the next international break. Yeah, so hopefully he does. But in my mind, I think the way Arne likes to get guys up to full speed and fitness, maybe we won't see him start a match for. Certainly, don't expect him to play in 90 minutes until after the next international break. Wayne said, "Hi Craig, off topic, but do you think Manchester United will go 30 years without a title?" Yes. Like they are they any closer to a league title than when they were after Fergie left? Like Fergie left getting every bit out of that team to get that last league title when he left. And they're no closer now. They're probably further away actually than they've been in other years. So yeah, a lot would have to go their way to get a league title, and no, I can't see it happening in the next 6-7 years at all. Summerpool said, "I think the best bit of business is us selling Torres to Chelsea for 50 million knowing he was done." So it definitely felt like we had the best days of Fernando Torres, mate. Yes. Still hurt when we lost them, but it did make me look on and think, shit, we got fleeced there. No, I agree. David Massett said, "Sami Hyypiä for 2.5 million. I'm a huge fan of Big Sami Hyypiä, and that was pound for pound probably one of the greatest bits of value our football club have had. You throw Andy Robertson in there as well. What was he, 8.5, 9 million quid? And we got that off Hull for Kevin Stewart. So yeah, Andy Robertson, again, an absolute bargain for us at the price we got him for, and the incredible service. Actually, while we're talking about Robbo, he's been speaking a little bit as well. So, 1 second. Let me just get my notes on this. Where's Robbo's comments? Yeah, so Andy Robertson was speaking a little bit about nearly leaving in the summer. Credit Anything Liverpool for these quotes on their post. He said, "I had to think about it and I had to think about what I wanted to do and I came to the decision, committed to the decision, and I'm happy to be there. We had options, we just worked through it as a family. Everything boiled down to my heart was still in Liverpool and we wanted to stay. We're very settled there and we're at one of the biggest clubs in the world." And I'm really glad that Andy Robertson stayed as well. I know he's had a contract at the end of this year, but if he puts in a good season, there's no reason why he can't play himself into a 2-year extension. We've got Milos Kerkez in, but Andy Robertson is a very, very, very good lad to have around for experience, for cover, and of course for leadership as well. Stargirl said, "Craig, talking about Verge, do you remember the hassle we got from United fans when they bought Harry Maguire saying he was a better player?" Yep. And I remember Chelsea fans when they got Kepa, similar thing. But our transfer business has been pretty damn good. Now, there's obviously never a guarantee when you sign players, but I think we definitely got the best of that Virgil versus Harry Maguire one, definitely. Mark Harding said, "I would say Robbo is the best value for money signing. My point on Diaz as a player, he seemed to create more than Gakpo." Oh, look, he was more of a handful, Mark, than Cody Gakpo. Hands down, I agree. And he was more versatile in the way he played. Centrally, like he played a lot of last season, he chipped in quite a bit. So yeah, I wasn't trying to have a puppet or anything over the Diaz Gakpo thing. I just wanted to remind everybody of the numbers that Cody Gakpo puts up from a goal scoring perspective. Keane said, sorry for the Isak statement. I thought he played both the Sweden games. Oh, dude, all good, all good. Yeah, he only got to 20 minutes, unfortunately. But it's still 20 minutes, Keane, so it's still a positive for us. But what wound me up a little bit, mate, was the Giovanni Leone one. I don't get this at all. Like, he was brought over by Gattuso and hasn't been in any of the 2 Italian matchday squads. I don't like that. He could have been staying home in Liverpool, settling into the new city, you know, getting used to his surroundings, training a bit more. Look, he's perfectly within his rights to call him up. But, you know, if you knew you weren't going to play him, why keep him for the whole of the international break? I think it would have been better served sending him back to Liverpool, but kind of is what it is, I guess. Rachel, have a good one. Craig Suarez for 22 million. Well, yeah, but we were initially just talking about the business of the summer, but then we kind of got sidetracked into, I guess, conversations around value signings overall. Was there any Nike kits you liked from us? Personally, I loved the black kit last season. There was 1 or 2, Dylan, that were okay. I'm not really a fan of Nike clothes, to be honest with you. I'm an Adidas person, so when I heard Liverpool were going back to Adidas, I was over the moon with it. But yeah, look, they had a couple of decent shirts. I think some people would say the cream shirt from a few years ago was a good one with Nike. I don't know, it just never felt right to me seeing Nike and Liverpool together. It just didn't seem a natural fit for me. It's going to be even weirder, actually, when the German national team move on from Adidas, which I believe they are at the end of this run. That's a strange one, to think that the German national team aren't going to be wearing Adidas kits. You know, a German manufacturing company. Yeah, that's a big shock. Because look at the belter shirts that Germany have had over the years with Adidas. Mike said, I got the home and away kit yesterday. Nice one. Selling Coutinho for 142 million after buying him for 8.5. Yeah, that was Craig Gascoigne. That was unbelievable money, mate, for that. Absolutely unbelievable. LFC Spectre said Salah for 34 million. Bargain of the century. What the Egyptian king had given us so far. Oh, dude, 100%. Like, when we got him in, I was keeping track of how he was doing at Roma, and he was certainly assisting a fair bit to Edin Dzeko and chipping in, but I never thought for 1 second we were going to have the level of player that we have had with Mo. Phenomenal, like, absolutely phenomenal. Stargirl said, Dad shouted Gary Mack during that treble year. Oh, I agree. Your dad's spot on. Like, Gary Mack for a few reasons. One, Steven Gerrard always credited Gary McAllister with having a massive impact on his development as a midfielder. The treble, like your dad said, in 2001. But also, probably my favourite Gary McAllister moment was the free kick against Everton. I'm not sure if I'm right in saying this, but I think that free kick was the difference between us getting Champions League qualification and not. And he pinched about 10 yards for that free kick and scored it. That's my favourite Macca moment, Gary Mack moment for us. Like, yeah. So your dad's spot on. He was incredible signing for us. And like I said, a big role to play in how Steven Gerrard developed as a midfielder. Eva said, Craig, how much do you reckon prime Stevie G would cost in the modern day? I mean, being realistic about it, right now, if Gerrard was 26, 150 million upwards, and I don't think I'm being exaggerating, but that number, it has to be a minimum 150 million, because he's just that good. I couldn't think of a number less than that would make any sense whatsoever. So it would have to be something crazy like that. And he's homegrown as well, yeah, which would be another one. Hugo said that free kick was great for McAllister. It was a belter, mate. Coutinho was a cash cow for Liverpool. The Italians must have been upset with what we got in the deal. Yeah, 8.5 million. I think that was in the same window as well. We brought in Danny Sturridge, if my memory's right, the same January. London Lion said we couldn't afford him, but if selling 175 million easy, he's just a complete midfielder. You know, we've seen what De Bruyne was like and how good he was. I would say him, maybe Yaya Toure, modern players who even got close to Gerrard. But Stevie G, look, I see him as Roy of the Rovers. You know, he's a superhero to me. LFC Drew said, fun fact, without the Alisson header, we would have finished in the same position. Would we? Would we really? That was against West Brom in the COVID time, wasn't it? Certainly felt like that was the difference between Champions League football and not. But, I don't know. Is that because of results afterwards? Because if it was, then us getting that win, results might have gone differently if we didn't get that goal. So, I don't know. I'd have to look back into it, but it's an interesting one. And do you know what doesn't get spoken about enough about that? What a good header it was as well. It was a damn good header. Joe Gomez for like 750k. He was more than that. I can't remember how much we paid Charlton for Joe. I want to say 8 million, but it was certainly in the millions. Anyway, it wasn't a few hundred grand or anything, but still, you know, a very good player. And 10 years later, he's still at the club. Shout out for Jersey Dudek, 20 years today, that double save in the final. Yeah, I never really rated him as a keeper though. Always will have that Istanbul moment, but I wouldn't put him down as one of the great goalkeepers of the Liverpool era for me. He was okay. Hey Craig, as a Real Madrid supporter, how good is Konate? Because he doesn't fully convince me. Love the streams. He has the potential to be brilliant. Like, when he's on it, he's phenomenal. He's got pace, he's got physicality, he's good aerially. But if I said to you that he doesn't have a wobble in him, or he doesn't have the tendency to give away some stupid fouls and free kicks, I'd be a liar. Yeah, that's my honest view on him. I would say has the potential to be, on his day, world class, but you're always unnerved a little bit when Konate's on the pitch, because you don't know if he's going to have that moment where he extends the hand and pushes a player down, or he grapples too much. It's weird because even as Liverpool fans, we don't like the idea of losing them to you lads for free. But most Liverpool fans I've spoken to feel like he's easily replaceable to the same extent, whether it is with Mark A or somebody else. So I think the fairest way I'd say it is I won't lose any sleep if we lose Konate, but I would also be happy if he stayed. So I think that's the fairest I can give you on an answer, Lewis. And thank you for your super chat as well. Lee Wilson said, what does Wirtz need to achieve at Liverpool for the 150 million to be money well spent? I guess the answer probably comes down to not necessarily thinking about just him. I think it's more what the team achieves. Wirtz has come in for a lot of unfair criticism for me, but I understand why. So some Liverpool fans think he can do a bit better, and that's okay. But the real criticism has been coming from the outside. And make no mistake about this, that criticism is coming from a place of fear. Because they hope he fails, they want him to fail, because they know if and when Florian Wirtz turns into the player we know he is, they're going to shit themselves. So it's all like fake bravado for me around the Wirtz situation. So what does he need to achieve? Exactly what we think he will. Be a difference maker. Now, for me, I'm patient. I didn't expect him to come in and necessarily hit the ground running. It is a step up physically and pace-wise to come to the Premier League. And even somebody as good as him is going to take a little bit of time to get used to it. You can see bits and pieces of the undoubted talent he has. So for me, it will all come together, and yeah, I've no doubts about it. I don't think we'll ever look back at that fee and think we haven't got value for it. I think he's an incredible player and certainly a potential Ballon d'Or winner for me in the future. Eddie. Oh, you're so kind, mate. And I want to thank you for everything that you do for us. As I always say, my man, we're all here for each other. And certainly you guys do a lot for me as well. And anything, if we've helped you guys out or give you bits of information that maybe you haven't had time to research yourself, look, it's my pleasure, sir. I really appreciate you being with us, Eddie. 25 months now as a member as well, mate. So, yeah, you're very kind. Thank you. Craig, rate my PFP, please. I can't really see your image, mate. Let me click on your name and see if I can get it up bigger. I can't really see it too big. I can see your Gyökeres ate his finger thing, but sorry, mate, I can't really see the image to rate it for you. McLovin, what a name. What a name, sir. Well played. Said rival fans can't accept that we're playing bad but still finding a way to win, so they're making their own happiness criticising our players. Spot on. And let them. Because like I said, mate, it's all coming from a place of fear. And they know. Like, I think, look at the Isak situation. Remember what it looked like we were making the first play for Isak. I remember going and seeing Arsenal fans all over the place begging their club to pull out the Gyökeres deal to try and get Isak. And then when it became clear that wasn't going to happen, then they started to tell themselves that, well, Isak would have gone to Arsenal. If he had a straight choice between Liverpool and Arsenal, he would have gone to Arsenal. But, Arsenal didn't make the move, so he went to Liverpool. I love that. I love seeing the coping mechanisms from them guys. Joseph said, being unbiased, I'd say that KDB was on a par with Gerrard. He was just ridiculous. Look, I think I understand that point, mate, where you're coming from. Kevin De Bruyne was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And you could certainly put up an argument that he was right there alongside Steven Gerrard. Maybe Gerrard had the longevity thing in the Prem a little bit, because obviously De Bruyne early at Chelsea was shipped out, went over to Germany and came back in and then was incredible. But it's another player that I think we can look at Chelsea and say, what the hell are you doing? Like, how many players have Chelsea shit to bed with that have gone on to be world superstars? Salah, 1. De Bruyne, 2. And I'm sure the chat can come up with 3 or 4 more names very quickly as well. Mark said, so I'm looking at the league right now. From the year Becker scored, we would have been third in goal difference. Yeah, but how many games from the end was Alisson's goal? Because you can't forget the psychological impact from other fixtures after that, knowing that it was still in our hands, is what I'm saying. So, at the end of it, yes, maybe it looked that way, but I still think if you go back through the games, the psychological shift in momentum from that header may have had an impact. Oh, David, I just didn't see your super chat, mate. You're right. Any tickets left? I will fly in if there is. So I haven't checked, but I think there's still tickets left for the show. Yes, but look, David, for you it doesn't matter if you're coming in, mate. Your tickets are on me. So either way, don't worry about that. Just email contact at if you need them, man, and I'll sort them out for you. But yes, last I checked, there were still about 30% of the tickets left, I think, for the live show. But I haven't checked in a while, so I'm assuming there is. But if there aren't, for yourself, man, don't worry about it. I'll sort that out for you one way or the other. Even if you've got to sit on stage beside me, we'll make space for you, David. So yeah, if you want to just email if you can't get them, if they're not on the site anymore, which I think they are, but happy to give them to you as a thank you for coming as well, David. And again, yeah, sorry, mate, that I did miss that one. It snuck in between two, and I thought it was the one originally underneath, so apologies on that. Can you do a poll? It was better Fowler or Owen? Yeah, no props. So is this for Liverpool, Eddie, or in general with their careers? But I think we'll do it for Liverpool. So 1 second. Who was better for Liverpool? Right. 1 second. Right, so who was better for Liverpool, Robbie Fowler or Michael Owen? There's only one acceptable answer to this question, by the way, folks. Robert, how are you, sir? Said, hi, Craig, I'm Hungarian myself. What I want to ask you is your opinion about the 2-2 draw. In my opinion, the ref was on Ireland's side. I'm really curious what you think about the match. So, honestly, Robert, I was in a hotel having dinner. Now, I was in a bar where it was on TV, but I wasn't paying attention to the game. So, I'd be a liar, mate, if I told you I remember all of it because I was only drifting in and out of the game. So yeah, I can't give you an answer because I didn't really pay too much attention to the game. I'm not the huge international fan the same way I would be with Liverpool, so I don't really care when Ireland play too much. So yeah, sorry, I don't mean to cop out of giving you an answer, but I also don't want to lie to you and say I agree or disagree, because the truth is, I looked in at the score, I seen you were 2-0 up. I kind of lost interest at that point, went out for dinner, and I just happened to be leaving the restaurant when I heard a scream behind me, and I turned around and we'd scored the equaliser. So I don't know, mate, is the honest answer. But on the game, I'm happy with the result. I thought we were going to lose, to be honest with you. But, you know, I still think you'll probably finish ahead of us in the group. You know, I think yourself and Portugal probably the two most likely to go through. Paul Donnelly said, hope you had a good break, Craig. Feels like weeks since the last stream. I know you're very busy, but did you see the email I sent you last week? So I don't have access to any emails anymore, Paul. And I know obviously people don't hear everything I say on stream, so I'm not having a go at them. But after all the threatening emails towards, you know, bombs and my son and the venues and all this stuff that happened over the past couple of months, I made the decision to sign out of all our work emails. So I don't see anything that comes in. Connor sends me on stuff that he thinks I need to see. But other than that, I don't know about the email. I'll check in with Connor. I don't know what it was relating to. I did have a few he passed on to me. Some that were asking for advice on equipment and stuff that I responded to. But I'm not sure about your own, Paul, to be honest. But I will certainly ask Connor to have a look back through them. Craig, do you prefer Cristiano or Lionel? Oh, 100% Messi. Fuck Ronaldo. I'm Messi all the way, mate, in that debate. I don't even think it should be a debate, by the way. I think the way I look at it is Lionel Messi is far better with his talents that God gave him. But Cristiano Ronaldo is a great example of getting every ounce out of your career. Training hard, being dedicated, living the life of an athlete, and you know, his longevity and his work ethic are phenomenal. I will always give Ronaldo credit on that. But I just don't think it's even close. Messi, in my opinion, is far, far better as a footballer. Far more talented. Just better in every aspect. So for me, I'm always going to be on Messi's side of that. Messi, to me, is the second best footballer ever. So, yeah. I'm Maradona as well, Joseph. Same as yourself. You said I'm Maradona over both Messi and Ronaldo. I'm the same. 100% the same. I think Maradona is the greatest footballer that's ever laced up a pair of boots. Martin Lawrence said the ref gave a few extra fouls to Ireland, but he let the Hungarian team away with a lot of time wasting and feigning injury. Like I said, I didn't really pay attention to the game, so it would be unfair of me to have too much of an opinion on it. But relieved as an Irish fan to see a draw at the end of it. Adam said Ronaldinho over everyone. Oh, Ronaldinho was cool. He's just a joy to watch. But for me, it was Diego Maradona. I don't think anybody will ever surpass Maradona in my eyes. Maradona, Messi, and then you can argue over the rest after that. How good was Sturridge during that 13-14 season? Oh, Danny Sturridge was incredible. Like, when we had a fit and healthy Danny Sturridge, what a player. You know, the goal he scored in the Europa League final that we lost in Basel, it doesn't get spoken enough about because we lost the game, but what a goal that was from Studge. And I don't think many others in our team would have been able to score that one, but he was brilliant. Love Daniel Sturridge. I understand, Craig. It was specifically for you about some help advice I wanted to ask. Yeah, let me just check in with Connor, Paul, and I'll ask him to forward it on to me if that's okay. Adam said Palmer as a Salah replacement. I don't rate Cole Palmer anywhere near as much as lots of others seem to. I'd go as far as to say I'd be disappointed if Cole Palmer came in after Salah. I'm fully on board the Michael Elise train at this point. I love the idea of Elise being the long-term Salah replacement. Actually, on that, you know that Bayern Space account? Well, they were commenting again, and they said Alexander Isak is amongst the growing list of top talents who rejected a move to Bayern Munich. They had a bit of a nightmare of a window, Munich, losing out on so many options, one after another. Voltmada, they didn't get done. Wirtz, they didn't get. Isak, they didn't get. Now, they got Diaz, but, that was kind of on Liverpool's terms, to be honest. But, yeah, they've had a bit of a mare, and the saltiness coming out of Uli Hoeneß and many at Bayern is funny because, they're trying to say Premier League clubs are just overpaying for everybody, but that's because that's where the money is right now. It's in the Premier League. So Indy Kayla, who look, is usually laughed about, but has had a lot of good stuff this summer, put out a post to say Liverpool have submitted a new contract offer to Ibrahima Konate, and his agent was handed the details today, according to that report. So if that's true, then we may get an answer on what's happening with Konate finally soon. G-Man said, do you reckon Bayern aren't as big as they think they are? Look, they're a great club. They're a storied club, but they're a club that has had it their own way in the Bundesliga, certainly for most of that history. But on the Champions League stage, well, it's been a while since Bayern really were, I guess, a proper challenging force there. I don't think they're going to be this year. Yeah, look, I'll always have respect for Bayern as a club. They're a great club. I think same number of Champions Leagues as us, if I'm not mistaken. But I certainly wouldn't be looking at them and thinking it's a step up from Liverpool or anything to go there. No, not at all for me. Alula said Tony Kroos also being salty recently about Wirtz and not knowing about Isak. Yeah, that Isak thing was a whole load of nonsense, wasn't it? That half the listeners would have to Google who Isak was. Come on now. That's a little bit salty, all right. Right, so we were asked by Eddie to do a poll. Who was better for Liverpool, Fowler or Owen? So do keep voting away on this one if you can. And when we get to 1,000 votes, we'll knock it on the head. Pretty one-sided so far, but again, would love to know your opinion. Mike said, Craig, do you still play footy? No, dude, not at all. No, the last time I was on a football pitch was playing in a reunion game. I want to say it was 9 or 10 years ago at this point. And even then, mate, I knew, God, I'm not up to it anymore. Especially playing at a high level growing up. You think it's still there, but I very, very quickly found out when I went back in. And I won't lie, I trained for that game. Like, I was in great shape. I was down to like 12 stone 6. And I thought I was ready to go for it. I'd been practicing. But yeah, God, those days are gone, man. And never again would I be setting foot in a footy pitch. Bayern just look after Elise for us. Yeah, I'm fully on board now with that. Dave, I have it in my head that Elise is the long-term replacement for Salah, and I hope it comes to fruition because I think it will be a good piece of business. Yes, goalkeeper, mate. Goalkeeper. Sorry, Craig. Owen will never be respected by a real Liverpool fan. He's worse than Trent. I mean, I don't know what you're apologising to me for. I hate the lad. It's no question for me, mate. I think he's... I don't want to be too disrespectful, but I don't have any time for Michael Owen for a whole host of reasons. Joining Manchester United was the final nail in his coffin for me. Whatever you think about him going to Madrid, then he had the chance to come back. He didn't hold his nerve, and he waited and eventually bottled it and went to Newcastle. And then the United thing is just the unforgivable part for me. And I don't, others can say what they want about it, but not for me. That was Yeah, I don't even think about him as a Liverpool legend in my mind anymore. I just think of him as a Judas. Did you see Messi's last performance? I didn't see it. I'd seen the highlights of it. I know it was his last game as well, at home for Argentina. So it was obviously a big occasion for him, and I think he was emotional at the end of it, but I'd only seen the highlights of it. Oh, by the way, going off topic for a minute, did anybody watch the NFL match last night? Oh my days. What a game. Um, Incredible. 41-40, I think, wasn't it, right at the end? Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, I think they were 13 points up with 4 minutes left on the clock, and the Bills just somehow with Josh Allen pulled it out of the bag. I couldn't believe it when I seen the final score last night. 41-40, and Josh Allen and the Bills turned it around right at the very end, getting that field goal to have a walk-off win. Wow, what a game. What a game. I think if I'm right in this, it's the last year as well for the Bills in their current stadium. You've got the whole MVP thing from last year as well between Lamar Jackson and the Bills. And, you know, Bills fans think, yes, fair enough, the MVP went to the right man. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens probably feel a little bit differently, but just what a player, lads. What a player. Is there a more, I don't want to say one team man, but the impact that Josh Allen has is just phenomenal. He is just Superman. Aaron said Packers 1-2. Oh, I know, sir. I was watching the Packers game. Go, Pack, go. Jordan Love, he's that guy. Paul said, Craig, do you think Salah needs to leave for us to get Elise? So I'm hearing a couple of different things on that, Paul. There is some people who believe that we'll try to make the move next year to bring him in and have a year before Salah goes. And if I'm being honest with you, I think succession planning is best done a year before. So ideally, I'd like him to be in before Salah departed, but I guess that depends on Bayern's stance, the fees, and a few other things. Do I rate Neymar? It depends what you mean by rate. I rate that he got left $851 million in a will by a billionaire. That's mad. But here's what I think about Neymar. Players like Neymar and Wayne Rooney annoy me. And here's why. I think they left a little bit on the table in their careers. Specifically Neymar. Like, Neymar has all the talent you could want as a footballer. I don't think anybody would deny that one. But he's an arsehole. And he's a diva. And he's a little whinge bag. And those are things I just can't stand with him. And if you look at him when he was at Barcelona there with Suarez and Messi, that front line, that MSN front line, still to this day is just legendary. But after that, I don't know, he just started to seem like he bought into his own hype, and I was just never able to take to him. I'd never be somebody I would hold up as an example of a wonderful footballer or anything, but of course had all the talent in the world. I just never liked the lad. I just couldn't take to him, and yeah, I just think he's the modern footballer in the wrong sense of the word, if you get me. Like, just too much brand and not enough effort. LFC Drew said Neymar's a bit like Hazard, a waste of talent. I get a pain in my hoop listening to Chelsea fans trying to disrespect Salah by saying Hazard was better. Twice that man went a calendar year without a goal. Twice. And yes, maybe on his day he could have been better than Salah. But I tell you what, give me Mohamed Salah every day of the goddamn week over Hazard because of the consistency and the level Salah had over a prolonged period. So yeah, I'm always going to be in Mo's corner in that debate because I don't even think it should be a debate. Paul said, I agree with you, Craig. I just wonder if Elise would want to come in and be a backup for a whole season. But would he be a backup at that point? That's the interesting point, Paul. Like, if you brought him in and you know Salah's going in a year, trying to be respectful here in how I word this, would you mind if you upset Salah at that point? If it was for the best interest of the team? I wouldn't, because I'm about Liverpool and Liverpool winning. So if Elise came in and he was performing better than Salah and got the shirt, no problem. If Salah was performing better than him and stayed for the rest of the year and Elise had to be a bit part player, so no problem with that either. But I'm a big believer in competition increases everyone's levels. You know, that's why I loved hearing what Hugo Ekitike said about Isak coming in, and that, you know, he doesn't mind it. He expects it at a club like Liverpool and he will rise to the challenge. So I think competition's a good thing. And if you're a player like Elise coming to Liverpool, well, you're going to have to believe in yourself, aren't you? Because one, you're going to be coming in at that point on a very, very big fee. And you don't come to a club like Liverpool unless you believe in yourself and your ability. So it'll be an interesting one. Michael Murray said, "Hey Craig, good to be back." Thank you, sir. It's great to be back with you. I've been looking forward to today's stream all day. You know, you hate the international breaks because they are definitely a lot quieter than normal streams. But honestly, delighted to be here and back tonight and get the first one back out of the way. And Neil said, Rio taking over from Salah. Well, he'd have to switch up sides at the minute. Obviously, Rio is thought of as a left-sided player. But I honestly do think it'll be Elise. I think there's a lot of truth to that. Right, I need your help before we finish up. If you can, we need 291 likes. So if you can, hit that like button for me and get us up to 1,000. A couple of bits of housekeeping, is that the right word? So the podcast, if you remember, the podcast is going to be out in 30 minutes. It'll be out at 11 o'clock tonight. If you're not a member, the podcast will be out tomorrow morning at 11. It'll also be out on Spotify as a video podcast. So do check that one out. It was myself, Connor, and Steve this week. We talked about Isak, talked about the transfer window, talked about PSR and the investment into the academy by FSG of another 20 million quid. We talked about what that'll mean, and we discussed whether PSR now will turbocharge investment into academies because it's such a good money generator for clubs. So we discussed that a little bit as well. On top of that, there'll be a late night news roundup coming up before 11. So I'm going to record that as soon as I finish here. But apart from that, we're back to normal. So we'll be streaming every night this week. We'll have our 4:30 or 5 o'clock video, our late night videos. And my other day off this week from live content will be Saturday. So just stick that one into the calendar. What else have we got? Oh, yes, this was what David was on about earlier on as well. This is our last ever live show, and we're doing it on the day of the Manchester United game. So I'll be going to the game and then straight to the venue for our last ever live show. All the Anfield Agenda ticket revenue from our side of it will be going towards Joe's wheelchair basketball chair. Tickets are priced at just 15 quid, and it's an all ages event. Right, let's end this poll before we finish up. So we asked who was better for Liverpool, Robbie Fowler or Michael Owen, and 80% of people that voted said Robbie Fowler, and I would certainly be in that 80% myself. There was a reason the man was called God. So, who do you think we should sign, Wharton or Stiller? So McLovin, I'd say Wharton, because one, he's a great player, and two, he's homegrown, and that would help us out a bit as well. So, yeah. Do we get a photo op at the live? Well, every other show, yes, Royston. Every other show I've stayed afterwards and took photos and talked on stage with people. Obviously, you have to be a little more mindful now after all those threats and stuff like that. So, yeah, the plan is, yes, I always want to make sure that we spend some time chatting with people after the shows because that's what they're about for me, getting to meet you guys and say thank you for your support. So, the plan is certainly yes, mate, but like, let's say, for instance, because the venue have got some stuff sent to them in the past as well that wasn't too nice, shall we say. So I'll liaise with the venue on that and the security. But yeah, the plan is always to say thank you afterwards and take photos and stuff. Right, I'm off to record this late night news update video. Thank you again for coming back in tonight and joining me. It's always a pleasure spending time with you. And we'll catch you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Have a good one. Bye-bye.